Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time you are joining, and wherever you are joining from, it is good to have you here. Um, I just wanted to mention today, I had an experience where I tuned into some headlines this week that were concerning. And to be truthful, I take the news in small doses these days because I know, as probably with most of you, if you are meditating, you have a sensitive heart and you might have a thin skin with a lot of the things that are happening in the world. And it can easily throw you into a place of fear and anxiety when you start to see some of the things or tune into some of the things that are happening around us. So, as I was noticing what was happening for me with some of this fear and this anxiety coming up, there was a Chinese parable that came to mind that I've heard a couple of times that I wanted to start with today. And you might know it as the story of the Chinese farmer. And it's a version, the one I'm going to share with you today is a version that was made popular by Alan Watts, who is a poet and a philosopher, contemporary poet and philosopher. And I'm going to read that for you today, and then we'll move into meditation. Okay, so here's how it goes. Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer whose horse ran away. And that evening, all of his neighbors came around to commiserate. They said, "We're so sorry to hear that your horse has run away. This is most unfortunate." And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back bringing 7 wild horses with it. And in the evening, everybody came back and said, "Oh, isn't that lucky? What a great turn of events. You now have 8 horses." And the farmer again said, "Maybe." The following day, his son tried to tame one of the new horses, and while riding it, he was thrown and broke his leg. The neighbors then said, "Oh dear, that's too bad." And the farmer responded, "Maybe." The next day, the conscription officers, so the army, came around to sign people up to go to the army. And they rejected his son because he had a broken leg. Again, all the neighbors came around and said, "Isn't that great?" And again, he said, "Maybe." And I kept, as I mentioned in the beginning, that story came to mind this week because I kept thinking about the way that the information that I was consuming was being presented to me, and how really deep down, how could I know whether the events that were being described were, number one, absolutely going to happen, and number two, whether they were good or they were bad. And it reminded me that what truly matters isn't the situation itself, but how we respond to it. And I know in this human experience, we love to label things as good or bad, or things as unfortunate or unlucky. Because when we do, it makes us in some way feel like we know the right thing, we know the truth. And it's easier to see things in black and white than to sit in this place of not knowing. And I love the idea of taking the perspective of maybe. Maybe what we see will lead to a terrible outcome, but maybe it will also lead to something incredible that we never could have imagined that could, in the long run, be really good. And so I love playing this with this idea of maybe, because in maybe, there is a level of peace that you can achieve, even if there is uncertainty, and trusting just quietly and gently that things will unfold exactly as they should in their own time. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. I do know that when I take a position of maybe, or you might be right, or I might be right, or something might happen, or it might not, it at least keeps me in a place of feeling grounded and peaceful. So to put this idea into practice, we'll be doing what's called an open awareness meditation today, and we'll be using the breath as our anchor. We'll be meditating as always for about 20 to 25 minutes, and I will keep track of the time. So let's go ahead and begin. Go ahead and take a moment to settle in and find a comfortable seat. Ideally, I suggest upright in a position that allows you to be both alert and relaxed, and with your hands in your lap or at your sides. And you're welcome to gaze at a point in front of you if it feels comfortable to have your eyes open, or you can simply close your eyes and come to a place of turning the lens inward. And so as we all settle in, making sure that you feel comfortable and knowing that this position that you're in will keep you in a space of comfort and relaxation for a short period of time. And so as we shift our attention from the outside world to our interior, begin to notice where you're at in this moment. Perhaps tuning in to any sensations that you might be feeling, any thoughts that are swirling. Just doing a mindful check-in for a moment. Noticing what's true for you as you come into this place of stillness. We'll begin by noticing the breath, tuning into the breath and the natural rhythm of the inhale and the exhale. There's no need to change anything, to force anything. Just tuning in to the natural rhythm as it moves in. The air moves in through the nostrils, into the body, and out through the nostrils or the mouth. And if this is the first time today that you've actually been still, notice what it feels like to be still, to move from a place of activity, to-dos, thoughts, to this place of stillness. You might take some long, slow, and deep breaths in through the nose and out through the nose, settling the nervous system. And letting the body know it's okay to relax. And there's no place to go or be except for this moment, right here. As you settle into your practice, you might notice how your body is supported where you're sitting, letting yourself sink more deeply into the earth, into the support beneath you. Consciously relaxing your eyes and eye creases, your jaw and mouth. You might release your shoulders a bit, releasing any tension in the lower back, in the lower part of your body. Perhaps even tuning into the sensation of your feet beneath you or grounding. Tuning in now to the sounds in the space around you. Perhaps the sounds that are further away, and then moving to the sounds that are closer in. You might notice the quality of the sounds, perhaps even the frequency of the sounds. And as you take in all of the sounds, refraining from any judgment about whether the sounds are pleasant or unpleasant, and just noticing. Perhaps even extending a level of gratitude for the ability to hear the sounds as they circulate around you. And gradually moving your attention now to the rise and fall of your chest. The sensations of the breath moving in through the nostrils, the cool sensation, and then the path that it takes as it moves into the body. And then as the breath moves out of the body through the nostrils or the mouth, perhaps noticing the change in temperature in the air. As you begin to anchor into the breath, you might notice the rhythm of the breath. Perhaps tuning in to where the breath circulates in the body. And all of the sensations that you notice as the body is breathed over and over again. We'll rest in this space for a few more breaths as we each tune in to our own rhythm. As you tune in to the breath and the body settles, you might notice that thoughts begin to arise, perhaps emotions or sensations. Simply acknowledge whatever arises in this moment. And perhaps today playing with receiving whatever's there. Perhaps instead of labeling it anxiety or worry, joy, freedom, you might tune in to the essence of the feeling, the sensation, the emotion, and allow it to be exactly as it is, without a story, without a label. Each time a thought arises, notice it like a cloud in the sky. The role of observation, being the observer of your mind. You might even meet each thought that you notice with maybe, and returning to the breath over and over again. And with each sensation that might arise, perhaps meeting it with maybe, refraining from judging whether it's good or bad. With each thought, each emotion, each sensation, simply meeting each of these over and over again with the idea of maybe. A thought arises. Maybe an emotion arises. Maybe a sensation arises. Maybe noticing how it feels to release any labels, any attachments, or any outcomes. Simply meeting each moment with an open mind. Nothing good, nothing bad. Breathing in and out with this quiet rhythm of life. We'll rest in this space for a few minutes, and I'll keep track of the time. Breathing in and breathing out. Now begin to expand your awareness in all directions, beyond thoughts, sensations, emotions. It's nothing to figure out, just allowing life to unfold steadily, moment by moment, feeling into the ease of not knowing, not having a plan or anything to figure out. Now, bring to mind this simple affirmation, allowing it to settle in your awareness. I allow life to unfold in its own time. Silently repeating this to yourself and letting it take root within you. I allow life to unfold in its own time. Integrating the truth of these words throughout your entire being, body, mind, and heart. I allow life to unfold in its own time. The whole process of nature is an integrated process of immense complexity And it's really impossible to tell whether anything that happens is good or bad, because you never know what will be the consequence of the misfortune, or you never know what will be the consequences of good fortune. And as our meditation draws to a close today, you might bring some gentle movement back into the body, perhaps a wiggle of the toes or the fingers. Gradually tuning in to the space around you. You might even deepen the breath slowly and gradually. And really taking your time to make the transition from stillness back to a place of doing, moving back into this space of activity. You might bring some larger movements back into the body, perhaps stretching, moving the shoulders or the hands, the legs. And when you're ready, you're welcome to gradually blink your eyes open, taking in the surroundings, perhaps with fresh eyes. And perhaps even noticing something new that you haven't noticed before. Something in your surroundings, perhaps a new sensation that you weren't aware of. Perhaps an insight or a wisdom that's come through. I want to thank you so much for being with me today, for honoring yourself with your practice. The light in me honors and sees the light in each and every one of you. Namaste. We'll see you next time.